West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains and the Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, and they're blowing like a breeze. Country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia.
Hello and welcome to a bonus edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I'm going to be attempting this country road themed slitherlink called Slitherlink Take Me Home by Phistomefel. Now this is an odd puzzle indeed. I've read through the rules a couple of times. I've had a thought about the rules which may or may not be helpful. But the interesting thing for me about the puzzle, which appeared on Logic Masters Germany about a week ago, is that it's had only 13 solves, I think, in all that time. Now, basically, everyone who's on Logic Masters Germany tries to solve every Phistomefel puzzle that comes out there, because why wouldn't you? Phistomefel is an absolute genius puzzle maker. So the fact that it's only got 13 solves suggests to me that this is very, very difficult. But in its rating, it's got a 100% approval rating, so obviously that's not surprising, but it's only got 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty, and that is weird to me. There is a real contradiction. So clearly the people who have solved this understand it very easily. But I suggest there are a lot of people out there, I may be one of those, who have tried it and failed and probably are wondering what on earth is going on with it. The rules are long and complicated, and what I decided to do, because it involves this logic puzzle called Country Road. Now, I have done Country Road logic puzzles before in my life, but not recently. So what I did was I went to the Discord server and I typed in Country Road, and up popped a puzzle by Eric Fox, and it is this puzzle. So I thought what I might do, if it's all right with you guys, is I'm going to do this one first to remind me how country roads look. And I snipped the rules as well, so we're going to be able to read the rules and then try the puzzle. And then we will go back to the Phistomefel puzzle after that, and we will have to think about it. So the rules are, we've got to draw a non-intersecting loop through the centres of some cells, which passes through each region exactly once. A number in a region represents how many cells in the region are visited by the loop, and orthogonally adjacent cells across a region border may not both be unused. Orthogonally adjacent cells across a region border may not both be unused. Yeah, I do understand that. Right, okay, so let us have a go at this. Then we can learn about country roads together, and then we can try and do Phistomefel's puzzle. So, the 1 looks quite interesting to me. If I can only take one cell in that region, surely it has to be that one, doesn't it? Isn't that forced? Because if I do anything else, I'm going to have to take a second cell to get out. So I think that's forced. Right, and I do remember in country roads you have to keep very careful track of border cells. So I don't know how this software works. Can we, yeah, if I double click cell, maybe, oh yeah, okay, I see how this works. Right, so we know that in the 1 region these cells are not used by the loop, and because of this strange rule about you not being able to have 2 cells that are sort of switched off across a border, so if we use X to mean switched off, we can't have 2 switched off cells crossing a border. That's against the rules of the puzzle. So we know those 2 cells and those 2 cells must be loop. And now this has become a corner. Yeah, all right. This, by the way, this puzzle was in the Gap series, the genuinely approachable pencil puzzle series. So I don't think it's meant to be monstrously hard, but it is serving as a useful reminder to me. Now look in this region here. Reminds me of one of those Hayawaki regions, Hayawaki 5 region. But anyway, we've got to get this segment out of the box without, and we've got 4 cells in already, so we've got to take that one to get it out. So all of these are unused, and we've got to, I think, make that connection as forced. And now those will be circles, these will be circles. This is a corner. Yeah, it's the same logic here. Look, I've got 4 cells on the loop in this 12 cell region, and I've got to get the loop out, so I must do that. That's going to create a whole load of Xing, which creates a whole load of, whoopsie, a whole load of circling. The 2, yeah, okay. So, yes, there's another thing about this puzzle I'm remembering now, is you can only enter and exit a region once each. So what we can't do here is sort of click in here and take that cell, and then come in there and take that cell. That's not allowed. So we have to sort of orthogonally connect something to this and allow ourselves to get out of the box. Yeah, and we can't do this, because that's going to mean we just stick in, we've entered and exited this 7 box twice. We've sort of entered it, exited it, and then re-entered it. And this is not the space shuttle program. We're not trying to do that. So I think that's a circle. And that, of course, X's loads of stuff over here. That must be circle. That must be circle across the boundary. That's a corner. That corner's got to get out. So again, we've got this sort of similar pattern here. Now, how does this 7 work? I'm putting that as a crossing in. Is that correct? Is it necessarily correct? Maybe it's not. Yeah, it must be correct, because the 2, yes, I've got to get in and out of the 2 regions. The only way I can do that is like that. I can't take any more cells in the 2 region. So now I just have to make the 7 region where, oh, I see, so I get a corner there. Oh, this is really clever. Yes, okay, and now if I pop down, if I do that, I'm taking all 9 cells, because I'm going to have to do that, and that's not going to be correct, is it? So I must come across there, come across there. These 2 are X's. Those 2 are X's. That's a corner. This is, oh, these are all X's. Remember to do your X's. This is definitely helpful. Oh, I've done all three thingies in this region, so that must exit. Those become X's, those become circles. That's a corner. This is actually a corner, because what would happen if that was a line segment? Well, then we've entered this box and we've entered it, exited it, and re-entered it, so that's not allowed. So that's a corner, that's a corner, that's become a corner. We've got 5 cells, 6, 7, 8. Ah, oh, I've broken it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I haven't. 8. It's 9. Okay. So yeah, I was wondering how I was going to connect this loop segment to these loop segments and still get out of the box, but I can do it just by doing this. So that's all forced. That's a circle. That's a circle. That's a circle. That's a circle. This is a corner there. Look. So that's got to do that. That's got to pop up here. We've got to connect these, so that's become a corner. Oh, this is now a corner. Look at this. Yeah, this is all getting filled in. Those are X's. This is zeros. We've got to pop up here, and we've got to take 7, so it's got to be like that. There we go. Right, okay. So that's really helpful, actually. That is really helpful as a refresher. I'll try and remember to put a link to this puzzle under the video so that you guys can have a go at it if you want to. Now believe me, the rules of this are much more complicated than the rules of the country road we just read. So here we go. Draw 2 closed loops in the grid, a touching slitherlink that runs along the dashed edges. Well, sorry, that should be the bold edges in this puzzle because we haven't got dashed edges. I think it means runs along these cells. And a country road that runs from cell centre to cell centre. So that's what we just did. Neither of the 2 loops may touch or cross themselves, which I take to mean they can touch or cross each other. Probably. Not all grid points have to be traversed by the slitherlink, and not all cells have to be visited by the country road. Each number is either a touching slitherlink clue or a country road clue. Okay. Or both at the same time is also possible, so every number can be anything. A touching slitherlink clue indicates how often the loop touches the edges of the cell containing the clue. Now let's just stop there, because I remember I did a Phistomefel liar touching liar or something the other day, and the 4 clues were immediately weird to me, because ordinarily in a slitherlink a 4 clue would mean all 4 edges were taken, and that obviously would create a very small loop and would seem to make the puzzle very trivial. But in touching slitherlink, what we're saying is how many times is that perimeter touched by the loop, and therefore a 4 clue is forced to be this in touching slitherlink. So that is what we have to bear in mind. Now, okay, the slitherlink divides the grid into several regions to which the country road clues refer. So in other words, what we're being told here is we're going to divide the grid into a slitherlink, and then you can see in terms of what we had with our country road, we've got a region there, we've got a region here, we've got another region there, we've got another region here, and then we've got a great big region in the middle, which is the slitherlink itself, and we will make that yellow. And look how pretty that is. Anyway, that's what we've got to do. So we're going to divide the grid into several regions, makes this country road. A country road clue indicates the number of cells visited by the country road in that region. Okay, that's exactly the same as the example we just did. The country road passes through each region exactly once. That's exactly the same. Cells not visited by the country road may be orthogonally adjacent only if they are in the same area. That's a complicated way of saying exactly what we did in the other puzzle. Each region can contain none, one, or more touching slitherlink clues. Each region can contain none, one, or more touching slitherlink clues, which makes sense, okay. And each region can contain none or one country road clue. Okay. If a region contains no country road clue, an arbitrary number greater than 0 can be traversed by the country road. If a region contains no country road clue, an arbitrary number greater than 0 can be traversed by the country road. Okay. And that's all the rules. Now, do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play Let's Get Cracking, and I'm immediately pausing here because I've read these rules before. I read them the other day when this came out, and I was thinking I was going to do this puzzle, and there is something that's nagging me about them. And I don't know whether to start with this in case it's complete bobbins, or it makes me look like a complete genius. But if it does make me look like a genius, it's not because I am a genius, it's because I've had time to think about it, and it's obviously percolated through my brain. And I've come up with something interesting. And my thought is, in this puzzle, is this right? Sorry, I've realised I'm being the world's most inarticulate man. The thought is about the wording of the rules. The rules say that the regions are defined by the slitherlink. So I'm going to draw, let's just draw in another of my pretty slitherlinks. Boom, 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 boom. But now, every region, according to the rules, every region has to have a non-zero country road clue. In other words, there's no region in this puzzle that is not visited by the country road. Because even if it doesn't have a clue in it, an arbitrary number greater than 0 can be traversed by the country road. So you're not allowed to have a zeroed region in this. But that means, let's look at the top left of the grid, this region here. I've got to go into this with the country road somewhere. Don't know where, let's make it there. And I've got to come out of it somewhere. It's going to be there. But now I've entered my slitherlink and I've exited my slitherlink. So I'm not allowed to go and enter and exit it again. I don't think I am allowed to do that. But if that's right, the implication of that is that there are only two regions in this puzzle. There is the slitherlink, and there is a region outside the slitherlink, and there is nothing else. And that, if it's true, feels like it must matter in a way I can't appreciate. So if it's right, and I feel it is right, it feels right, doesn't it? Because, but if it's right, and we're saying there are only two regions in the puzzle, then we're saying that there are only two country road clues in the puzzle. But, oh, okay, but this is why. This is why the rules are saying if a region contains no country road clue, an arbitrary number can be traversed by the country road, because that's saying that there could be like a, I don't know how big this grid is, 8 by 8. So that's saying there could be like 50 cells traversed by the country road. But there's no 50 in the grid, because there doesn't need to be, because of the way the rules are defined. So okay, so I'm not precisely sure what we have to do with this, but I thought I would share with you my shower thought. So what do we do with this knowledge? So there are two, I don't know, I'm tempted to start with the 0 though. Should we have a think about the 0? So the 0 can't be a country road clue, because it's not allowed to be. Oh, is that right? If a region contains no, so if this was a country road clue and it was a 0, is that allowed under this rule set? So if a region contains a 0, it's not allowed to be a 0 if it's an unspecified country road clue. A country road clue indicates the number of cells visited by the country road. The country road passes through each such region exactly once. Right, okay, so that there is a contradiction there. If this is a country road clue, then we still need to pass through it according to the rules, is how I read the rules anyway. So it sort of would contradict. So I think this has to not be a country road clue, which means it's a touching slitherlink clue, which means that we can say that you can't touch this. you can't touch this. Now I'm not even going to attempt to do the wrapping because I can't do it. But that means that we can sort of it won't let me do an X on a boundary. But we obviously can't come anywhere near this 0 clue anymore. So this is outside the slitherlink loop, isn't it? That is what we have learned. This is outside the slitherlink loop. And does that contradict with this 4 being potentially a touching slitherlink clue itself? No, what it would mean is that this 4 would be inside the loop. Now, is there any problem with a 4 being inside the loop in this puzzle? The answer to that is, don't think so. 4 inside the loop is, no, because it's not. Oh, this is really confusing. No, but no, it's I think the short answer. So, but yeah, I'm having to keep track. I'm sure you guys are as well if you're trying to follow this. I'm trying to keep track of both sets of rules and how they interact. and I'm really not doing a very good job of it. So what's the 1 doing on the boundary then? The 1 is saying this could be a country road clue, although that would be weird and powerful. Oh, because you know, remember in the example we did, there was a region that was a 1, and it was very powerful for starting the country road. So if that was a country road clue, that would be saying that there was one of the 2 regions in the puzzle was only visitable, if that's a word, by the country road in 1 cell. I've got a feeling this is almost like an April Fool puzzle. I wonder if this was released. It wasn't released on April Fool's Day, I don't think. I think it's more recent than that. But I'm weirdly worried that this, you know, we're going to find that there's sort of an enormous region here, and then a tiny little region at the edge. Phistomefel wouldn't do that, would he? He might do. It would be quite funny. Let's try this one. So if this is a touching slitherlink clue, that has to do that. I can see that straight away. So that would be in the loop. That would be outside the loop. But it could be a country road clue. And again, if it was a country road clue, just like its friend down here, it would be severely limiting one of the either the inside of the loop, one of the region's amount of country roadage. It would only be a very short road in that region, if you see what I mean. Right, okay. And then we've got this stuff at the top here, which looks far more complicated and I'm a bit scared of. So what's that saying? So if that was a touching slitherlink clue, it would be like that. And that would be telling us that, I don't know, it would be saying that, well, we have to extend that down, don't we, in both directions. So we'd have, if this is touching slitherlink, well, that would be quite interesting, actually. That would be quite interesting, because now think about these 2 1s. These 2 1s can't both also be touching slitherlink, because if they are, we've got to close the loop. Well, maybe that's what we're meant to do. No, that's not right. That's not right, because then we're saying that all of this is outside the loop, and either these have to be country road clues, and there's only 1 allowed in any region, or they're touching slitherlink clues, but we've just closed the loop, so that's not right. Okay, so that would be that's not going to work. Right. Okay, and that's good, because what that's telling us is that if this is a touching slitherlink clue, one of these clues, at least, exactly one of these clues is a touching slitherlink clue, and exactly one of these clues is a country road clue. So again, we'd be severely limiting one of the region's country road count. Okay, here is a thought then. So if the 2 is touching slitherlink, its region has a 1 country road count. If the 2 is not touching slitherlink, it is a 2. I know it's a 2. It's a 2 country road clue, and its region has a tiny country road count anyway. So the country road count associated with the top left of the grid, whether this is a country road or a slitherlink clue, is minuscule. One of the regions, one of the 2 cell one of the 2 regions in this puzzle is hardly visited by the country road at all. One of the regions in this puzzle is hardly visited by the country road at all. So what is that telling us? And do we know if that's inside or outside the loop? I'm not clever enough to know. I don't think my brain is not telling me the answer to that. My brain is saying that's a good question, but it's not saying the answer is this. It's just got blankness in it. So there's going to be we've got a grid. I've had another thought. It's a different thought, but it's still an interesting thought. Here is the thought. This grid is divided into two regions. I was about to say, well, what it means is that the slitherlink can only touch the edge, once, if you like. What it can never do, if it did this, it touches the edge here. It can't touch the edge somewhere else now. Unless, well, no, it can't, because you can see that even if I make this region enormous now, I've got three regions, 1, 2, 3. So that's not right. But I paused because I suddenly thought, is it necessary that the slitherlink touches the sides at all? Then I'd have two regions. I'd have it. Yeah, I'm almost wondering whether I still think this might be a joke, this puzzle. Something like this, and then the country road just goes round the edge. Okay, so if, to the extent that the slitherlink ever touches the edge in the puzzle, I can say it only touches it once, by which I mean, it can touch it on a string of cells like that. This would be fine. This would be fine. So it could touch it a long way, but now all of the rest of the grid would be, all of the rest of the edge would be not touchable by the slitherlink. So what we couldn't do is that, for example. Again, you can see it's very clear that becomes a separate region. But does this actually help me to make any deductions? There is one region in the puzzle that has a tiny country road count. So the other region, either that region is absolutely minuscule, like literally this, or to the extent it's a normal size region. Let's do a more normal size region, whatever that might look like that. And now, because this count in here of country road can only be a maximum of 2, there's going to be a whole heap of cells in here that are not on the country road, and every orthogonal cell to those is going to be on the country road, and so there's going to be a massive amount of real estate on the country road in the other region. So now the question I'm asking myself is it actually possible, given one of here's a thought. One of those clues and I don't know which one, but one of them is a country road clue. So is it possible that there is another number, another clue in this puzzle that is a country road clue? That's my question. Because I think the answer to that must be no. Because if any of these clues, I mean, if the one is a country road clue, that would be saying that that there's a 1 or a 2 country road in one of the regions. The other region would have a country road of length 1. And the country road would just be like a line. It wouldn't be a loop. I mean, even if the 4 was the country road clue, that would mean that the maximum length of the country road loopage in this puzzle would be to take the 2 from here as the country road, the 4 from here as the country road, and it would be a length 6 country road loop. And so in that situation, every other clue in this puzzle would be touching Slitherlink, including this one. Let's just have a quick look at it. I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, it just cannot work. You can't have only 6 length country road here. Yeah, I mean, is this inside or outside the loop? Or does it even matter? There's even going to be cells within this. You can't take all of these cells on the country roads, and to the extent you start having uncountry roaded cells, then the border cell is going to have to be loop, and you're going to have at least, yeah, maybe that's the way you can immediately, I mean, it's so ludicrous, I'm not sure that I have to disprove it. It's sort of, it just can't work. But if we were going to try and disprove it, how many of these 5 cells could ever be actually on a loop? Well, it's not going to be very many. So that's going to mean you've got 2 cells here that are not capable of being on the loop, and that's going to mean that you're going to have these cells which are adjacent but across the boundary on the loop, and I've already reached a count of however many that is, 9 country road cells. So this is nonsense. This is nonsense, and this is important, I think, because now I am convinced that because I have a country road clue up there, I may not know what it is, but I have no other country road clues in the puzzle. So that means every other clue in the puzzle is a touching Slitherlink clue, and that means I can do some stuff with the 4s. So the 4s now, I actually know what they look like, and this is going to get me going, isn't it? Wow, okay. How do you come up with this? I mean, I think this might be an April Fool's still. It's so cheeky from Phistomefel to design a rule set that's sort of, just shorter than War and Peace, and it basically to be a very long and difficult way of saying divide the grid in half and then draw some loops. It's quite funny. Now, what do we now know about the world then? So we know that, I'm going to uncolour these because I don't really have an idea what that colouring means. But what I think we should do is to colour sort of, and we don't know whether this, no, I do know now. Right. I was about to say I don't know whether this is inside or outside the loop. It looks inside the loop, but it didn't need to be. But it does need to be because this is definitely outside the loop. So that's outside the loop, so this must be inside. So these are all outside the loop. Wow, okay, this is huge. This is huge. We are away. We are away. I'm starting to understand. Now that clue, we now know, is touching Slitherlink. So that is forced. It's got to be that shape, and that tells us that this little corner cell is in the loop, which means that's outside the loop. And all of these things are starting to make sense to me. Now the Slitherlink has touched the edge. So we don't have that silly example where there was sort of a corral in the middle of the grid surrounded by a sea of orangeness. Now this touching the edge here means if we can get another point on the edge somewhere, we've got a sort of yin-yang logic. I don't know if you've ever done a yin-yang puzzle, but that is it's really powerful. So let's imagine this square was blue. Then you would know that all of these cells have to be blue, because if this was blue and this was orange, how would you ever connect the oranges up without cutting off this blue? You couldn't do it. And you're not allowed to cut that blue off from its friends over here, because if you do that, there are 3 regions in the puzzle. So this is the sort of thing we need to be on the alert for. Yes, so question 1. My question was, how's this getting out? Because this has got to connect to this. Yes, that's it. Okay, we can do this logic here. This has got to connect to this. So what are its options to do that? Well, its simple option is it drops down and then touches it along the corner here. Its only other option would be to come this way, but then it would need to hug the border the whole way. It can't cut that blue off from these blues. So it clearly cannot attach to its friend down here this way, so it must attach these way and this way, and these two are both orange. Now I think the same is true for this cell. To get out, it has to hit the border, and then it can't touch that way, so I think all of those actually become orange. This is quite exciting now. I have a vague feeling we might be able to solve this. It's going to take a while to do it, but... Right, so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this because it's going to make me feel better. Now, maybe the 1 here. This 1 is, well, we know it's a touching slitherlink. Oh, okay, yeah, I know it's a touching slitherlink clue. So how do we ever reach it? Oh, I see. There's 2 options. We either do that or we do that, but certainly the slitherlink has to come down here. So whichever one it does, that or that, this one is blue. That one is in the loop. And if this is in the loop, it must connect to its friends up there. So all of those are in the loop. This now has to connect to its friends, so it's coming out. Oh, I love this sort of thing. This logic is just so beautiful. So now, do we know whether this is in or out of the loop? I'm tempted to say no, but... maybe this is where we use the funny rule about the country road. If that's a border, then one of these cells must be on the loop. Well, if this is a border, one of these cells is on the loop. And if it's this one, then that's on the loop. And if it's not this one, then that's still on the loop. So this would always be on the loop, this cell here. This would be on the loop. Is that important? Don't know is the answer. One of these regions, either the orange one or the blue one, has a very tiny count of cells on the loop. When I say the loop, I mean the country road loop. I realise I'm being very inarticulate. One of the regions has a really tiny country road count. because it must correspond to the country road clue up there. We know one of these three is a country road clue. Now I'm questioning myself as to whether or not I have really got a handle on this, because I can't see this at all. If the orange cells have only, say, 2 cells on the country road, which is the maximum they could have, so if this 2 is referring to orange, then what are we saying? We're saying those 2, for example, they could be on the country road, but then every other orange cell in the grid would not be on the country road, and every orthogonally connected cell to those across a border would have to be on the country road. But isn't that going to break these plus shapes? So then let's just do this longhand, because I can't really visualize it, but all of these would then be x's, and I'd have to have, so this would be a tunnel, that would have to be a tunnel. No, this creates a branch in the loop. Yeah, okay, so now I'm feeling that the low count up here of country roadage is probably referring to the blue cells. Is it possible to somehow put 2 cells, and we can only put a maximum of 2 cells in these oranges, such that you don't break the blue cell's loopage ability? So probably what we have to do is to focus on 1 plus. So if I'm not going to break one of these, surely I'm going to break the other plus the moment I try not to break one of the plus. So if I've got 2 cells to play with, let's say I do that one as country road. Well, now if all 3 of these are off, then all 4 of those are on, and clearly you've broken the loop there because you have. So okay, so therefore you've got to, if you try and put one of the corners, it's like play a game of noughts and crosses. So if you put one of these corners on, you've got to do something else with the orange around this plus in order to not break it. And the moment you do that, this plus is broken, because all of these are going to be x's, and we've just shown that that forces all 4 of those to be loop, which cannot exist. You can't do it, look, because you're just going to draw a crossroads in the middle. So right, okay, I'm happy with that. This is very beautiful indeed. The actual logic in this is stunning. It's so clever. I mean, how on earth you come up with this stuff, Phistomefel? As usual, I have no idea. But now I'm quite excited, because I don't know if I knew that was true or not. But now what we've said is that the low country road count applies to the blue cells, which, now that's going to give us a different problem, because that means that the orange cells must have an awful lot of loop in them. When I say an awful lot of loop, I mean an awful lot of country road in them. So the orange cells have lots of country road, and the blue cells don't. And the orange cells can have a the blue cells can have a maximum of 2. A maximum of 2 country roads. So where are we going to put those so that this puzzle works? Because what I'm thinking about is this cell, for example. That is a cul-de-sac, as is this. So how do I deal with it? I can't have a cul-de-sac in a loop puzzle. So either the loop either this cell is not orange, and for this not to be I'm starting to see. So the maximum, this is ridiculously clever, by the way. What is the maximum number of country road cells in blue is 2, and that means you cannot country road those 3 cells. It's impossible. Now that means one of them at least is an X, and if one of them at least is an X, this must be in the country road. And the same is true here. These 3 can't all be on the country road. One of them must be an X at least, and that means that across the border, this square. Sorry, my daughter was calling me. I had to quickly pop downstairs. But we are definitely getting somewhere. What did we just do? We got this one in. Yes, that's because we worked out that we couldn't have all 3 of these blue cells in the country road, because we know that the country road for blue is a 1 or a 2. That means that we get right. This is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So now we have, what is the, yeah, this is so clever. What is the next move for the loop in this position? What is the next move for the loop? And it has to be into blue. Now remember, when we enter blue, we're not allowed to enter blue somewhere else. We have to stay in blue for as long as we're in blue for. So whichever way we go here, we can either take 1 cell in blue or more than 2 cells in blue. You can't take exactly 2 cells in blue for you once you go into one of those 3 cells. So that means that the correct country road clue up here for blue is a 1, which means that the 2 is not the country road clue for the blue region, which means it's a Touching Slitherlink clue. Oh my god, goodness me, I almost swore there. That is ridiculous. So now, right, so now these are blue, all of them. This is orange for sure. The blue must connect to the blue, otherwise we're going to cut. If we have orange here, we're cutting off the blue region. So all of that gets bluified. Let's put this in. Oh, right. And so in fact, the country road clue is now that one, because that cannot be a correct country Touching Slitherlink clue. So this must be a correct Touching Slitherlink clue, and that loop segment must be drawn in, which means that we can now orangify these 2 cells. We must connect the oranges down the boundary, or if we make this blue, this orange is going to be somehow disconnected from this. Oh, in fact, look, we could have done this before. Yeah, this orange region at the bottom is not connected to its friends in orange, so it's got to come up the side. But now it's even got to come into that cell as well. So that means that gets lined in. Hang on, and the logic I was talking about here regarding the next movement of this cell being into blue applies identically here. So remember, we can't do this and this because we're meant to stay in blue for as long until we get to our correct, because we'd have to connect these up, and that's going to be clearly too many cells. So we can only now achieve this by coming across here exactly like this. So now every other blue cell in this puzzle that is connected to orange, every other blue cell that's connected to orange must be, the orange must be on the country road. So orange must be, so that's got to come down and then must turn this way, that must turn this way. Everything that's orthogonally connected to, yes, so these have both not got country road in them, so that must have country road in it, so that's going to dip and dodge around the 0. This is the same, therefore that's a loop segment, which gives us another orange we didn't know about before. We've got to make, oh, I was going to make this orange, but that's not correct. Oh, it is correct, because that, of course, is now not country road, so this is country road, and that's a corner, so that gets put in. Same must be true here. We've got to come in there and turn. So that gives us another orange, and this puzzle's getting finished, I think. Now, how do we finish this off? So we've got, oh, let's do this one in the corner then. Do we know what that is? Yeah, yes I do. Because if that's a divider, neither of these cells is capable of being on the country road, and they would be across a division, and that's not allowed. You can't have them both off in that situation. So we need to turn this into that and move this up here, and therefore give this the award of blueness. And now we can nearly finish this puzzle, perhaps. So what's this doing? Well, we can't re-enter blue, can we? So we've got to keep going there. But is this... Oh, it's going to be all to do with these ones. They have an option. They can either do that, I think, or just close directly. And this 2 is a correct clue, isn't it? So it's a correct Touching Slitherlink clue. Oh, I can hear my daughter again. Hang on a second. Oh, it's gone quiet again. Okay, let's just try and finish this off quickly, if we can. Okay, how do we do this? So, the other thing is this orange here. Yeah, these oranges are both next to X's, so that's a force line. Ah, that might help me. So we can't join the loop, the country road up there. So if we close this off, this has now got country road in it. And we'd have to draw in, oh, actually that looks difficult, because what I'm seeing here is that if we do this, I've touched this Touching Slitherlink clue of 1, I've touched it once already, and that's going to require me not to bring in loop segments in anywhere like these positions. So now to get this 2 to work, how do we do that? How do I draw a Slitherlink? I can't do it. There's no Slitherlink. I can't. It's just impossible. You know, I can try and draw that sort of thing in there, but I can't. I have to draw that in. And now I can't see how on earth I can make this work. I'm trying to see how to do it, but I can't see how to make that work. I could do that line segment and that line segment. And again, the problem is here that I've got to connect this up somehow. I've got the wrong number of loop segments in. I could do that and that, I suppose, and that. But I can't. No, I can't do this. This is getting silly, because now I have to visit this. In fact, maybe that's the easier way to see it. Let's just unwind that for a moment. And think about this cell. because now we've entered blue, these are both off from a blue perspective, so that's a forced line segment now, which gives me more orangification. And if I get more orangification here, look, I can put more slitherlink in there and there, and that's made this 2 even harder to complete if this 1 is looking like this. Because now, let's put in the, we can't ever touch this 1 again, so none of those can be in. That can't be in. So that can't be in. So this has become orange now. And this is orange. Yeah, I mean, it's so ludicrous now. It's impossible. There's no way I can touch this cell twice with a slitherlink now. It's just, I mean, it's quite clearly impossible. So I think what that means is that this is actually blue, and we have to extend this line upwards. And now we have hit this 2 once. Ah, but look now, we can do, that's got to be orange, that's got to be orange, and we can connect this to this, that's got to be taken because this is off, so that's forced, and now what do we know about the world? I know there's got to be a slitherlink segment. Something like that, for example, might work, or even something extreme like that might work. But probably it's going to depend on what this does as well. So this one went up, so let's move that one up. Now this 1 is complete, isn't it? So we must not have any other. We'd have to have this, this, this. Oh, that doesn't seem to work, does it? Because now, to make the 2 work, I've got to move the slitherlink up, and it's going to hit the 1, and the 1's going to be touched twice. That doesn't work. Right, good grief, this is tricky at the end. So that's forced to be there. This has got to be orange. That's off. Whoa. That's off. So that's in the country road. That's forced up. That means this square's orange. Well, I say that because I'm assuming those 3 can't all be blue, and they can't all be blue because the 1 clue wouldn't be correct from a touching slitherlink perspective. So we've now got to work out whether this closes directly. That might work actually. And then it does something like that. Now, why is that wrong? The answer, no, that is wrong because this 1 is being touched twice by the loop, there and there. Good grief. So that means we can't have this. We can't do something like that, can we? No, we can't do that because these would both be off and they would cross the boundary. Gosh, this is very complicated. And the same is true there. These would both be off and crossing a boundary. Good grief. Okay, so this just is wrong. This is just wrong. We can't connect this up. So we've got to move in here, and we can't get to that square, so we've got to close. Oh, no, and this is wrong, because now I haven't made that 2 work, and that was crossing a boundary, so we've got to do that. I think that might be right. I hope it's right, because otherwise I've run out of options. Let's have a check of this. So we have got, this 2 is now correct count. This 1 is a correct count. This 1 is a correct count. And good grief. What a magnificent puzzle. I want to say this might be correct. I would actually love to know, but I don't have a good way of checking. I'm pretty sure Sven software is not going to be able to tell me. So I think we might have to go with this. What a long video. My goodness me. Actually, I better not make too much noise either now, even though I want to. I'm sort of chuckling away internally at having finished what I feel might be an April Fool from Phistomefel. I'm going to go and check when this was released, actually. Yeah, if it was an April Fool, I'll drop a note into the comments. Brilliant. It's a brilliant puzzle. It's crazy though, isn't it? I mean, imagine trying to come up with this. And that gives you an idea of the mind we're dealing with. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.